Hi, hello. If you can't see by the title, today we're going to be talking about Alien Stage, and I am so excited. So, a couple caveats before we get into this. First off, I apologize in advance if I pronounce any names wrong. I normally type out these names, and I'm not exactly sure how to say them. So, if I make any mistakes, I apologize in advance, and I hope you can tolerate that too. This will have spoilers up to Alien Stage Round 7 and any interviews up until 1/6/25. I won't be showing anything that's behind a paywall. That being said, if you love Alien Stage, I highly suggest you get their Patreon. It is like 1000% worth it, and there's so much you get from the Patreon that's just really interesting to dive into. So, alright, let's get started. Hi, my name's Joukhr. We're going to be talking about Alien Stage today. Now, I've been wanting to talk about Alien Stage for a really long time. I've made a couple, small videos about it, but it has been a hyperfixation of mine for months now. I literally got a tattoo of Ivan and Till, so I just want you to know that my mind is there. I'm also getting a Mizi and Sua tattoo, so one day that'll happen. May that'll happen. But so basically this is just my excuse to continuously ramble about Alien Stage. So I hope you like it. So I did this intro about love, and I feel like everyone knows love to a certain degree, except the thing is it's understood differently by every single person. So it's really interesting to just dive into that topic. And that being said, doomed love is very intriguing. The idea that two people can love one another so much but then not be able to be together and not be able to love one another the way that they would be able to if they were not under the same circumstances. Like the idea of one person reliving a timeline over and over and over again to save the person they love, or two people being pitted against one another and one of them is meant to die. It's beautifully gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching, whatever. Alien Stage, if for some reason you have not watched it and you're watching this, is a series of music videos and also comics and a lot of different stuff where it's basically a death game mixed with American Idol, where two people go up and sing and one of them dies based on public vote. Oh, and we're set in a world where the aliens have taken over and humans are considered pets. Alien Stage has three main pairings, three main relationships, that being Mizi and Sua, Ivan Till, and Hyuna and Luka. And each one depicts a very interesting form of love. To start this off, we're going to be talking about Mizi and Sua. They are, in my opinion, the most healthy of the three, though that's not saying much when you're compared to the other two ships. Don't hate me for saying this, because I know we all love this ship. I love this ship enough to get it tattooed on me. But it is a little toxic if you actually take the time to really dissect it. They're seen as the healthiest of them because it's a reciprocated and gentle romance, which is a juxtaposition to the surroundings and the cruelty of the world that they're in. Mizi and Sua shows a picture of beautiful love even in a tattered world. A bond that Ivan was jealous of and Till longs for, but we'll talk about that more later. This is about Mizi and Sua. The thing is, their love is somewhat shown through rose-tinted glasses. I can't just boil their relationship down to a couple terms. I'm gonna have to explain it all to you. But their relationship is filled with codependency, idolization, stuff like that. It's reciprocal, but at the same time, there's always some unsaid things. And the way they view each other is so putting each other on a pedestal. And also, all these problems are really only a problem because of the setting they're in. If you look at Off the Record, which I'm not going to talk about much here, but Off the Record shows a healthier dynamic between the two, and a healthier dynamic between Ivan and Till, and a healthier dynamic of Hyuna and Luka. So it's all of this is because of their environment and how they were raised. Sua grew up very cognizant, very aware of her mortality and of the future to come to certain degrees. She was told she'd go pop and die multiple times by family members. Quote unquote, her words scared me more than I could ever imagine. I couldn't stop thinking about going pop and dying much more than before. Then Sua met Mizi. Mizi was very sheltered and her owners were very kind to her. To Sua, she shined bright and was kind of an escape for the environment they were stuck in, and an escape of this feeling of inability to change their future. Sua wanted to protect Mizi from the truth and the despair of the environment around them. She wanted to show Mizi gentle love and shelter her from the hardships around them. I'm going to be mentioning those hardships multiple times in this video. And then when Ivan and Till came in the picture, Sua did not like them, but it's not so much because of them per se. It's because they threatened Mizi. Not like they threatened her, but their knowledge was a threat to Sua and Mizi's bond as it was at the moment, where Sua was protecting Mizi from basically all the horrors of the world. Sua didn't want Mizi tainted with these negative things. Till was too anxious to talk to Mizi, but Ivan became close friends with her, and Sua felt like that relationship was a threat. Ivan's like sort of aware of this relationship between Sua and Mizi, and then Sua's intentions in that relationship. He related to Sua, saying that she was just as twisted as he was. He would mess with her and give her input on, well, he gave her input on her idea to die for Mizi, which we'll talk about in a minute. Quote unquote, all you're doing is irresponsibly handing off everything you don't want to deal with and running away. To Mizi, who's going to be left behind, you'll just become trauma, nothing more, nothing less. You see, Sua knew she was going to sacrifice herself for Mizi for a very long time. This was like a planned out thing. I think right from the second that they found out they were against one another, Sua knew she was going to do this. Sua knew that you can't really escape death, and I don't think she wanted to live without Mizi. I don't think she knew how to live without Mizi now that she had Mizi. Mizi was Sua's hope and her strength, and I mean, Sua to an extent probably knew how to live without her because she did before, but Mizi had become so intertwined in her life. Thinking about without her, Sua just couldn't do it. She didn't want to go back to a place where she didn't have Mizi. She would rather die for her, and there's a selfishness in that because Sua dying for Mizi, as Ivan's pointed out, left Mizi to deal with the pain of losing Sua. A pain that she was not prepared for at all because Sua hid the cruelty of the world from her. Mizi didn't understand mortality like Sua did. She just loved Sua, and she was raised by people who were very positive and also in a way sheltered her. Sua never shared her troubles with Mizi, and then Mizi viewed Sua as one would view like God or an angel, and I think Sua felt the need to be put together at all times to uphold that view. Mizi's naivete made Sua's death much more painful. She was unfamiliar with grief, she was unfamiliar with loss. She wasn't familiar with negative emotions at all, let alone one as strong as grief. And then the first taste of negativity that she really had to deal with was losing the person she was most familiar with and the person that she worshipped. Sua was like Mizi's cornerstone, and losing her cornerstone to begin with, just is crazy. And then after that, Mizi continued to lose every single person in her life. We see Mizi struggle a lot during round 5 where she basically hallucinates Sua, and Luka kind of took advantage of that, but just in general, Mizi was not okay. I think the fact that Sua was so ingrained in Mizi, it was hard for Mizi to like go on without her. Mizi Sua's love was a love with rose-tinted glasses. It was a love that was very flawed behind the perfect picture. It's an all-encompassing love, one that burnt bright until it got so hot it incinerated them. Ivan Till, we're on to part 2. This one's gonna be a long one. I say that, but all 3 parts are pretty long. Anyways, Ivan Till is probably one of the most nuanced and misunderstood relationships in this series. A lot of people consider it unrequited, and while you can perceive it that way, I feel like a better term for it was unrecognized. You see, Till and Ivan had a close relationship. It was said in an interview that they had a bond as close as family, and before you say it, because now the internet is saying that they're like brothers, they meant when they said that Ivan and Till's romantic bond was as strong as the bond you would have with a family member, as devoted as you'd have with a family member. There's a video that, it's not the same concept, but it discusses this topic, and I'll leave it, it's about blood brothers, I'll leave it here. They also state in that interview that Till has precious memories of Ivan. Now, part of the reason that Ivan Till is so misunderstood is because we have nothing from Till's point of view. And then the creators kind of avoid talking about Till's point of view, saying in an interview, someone asks, how does Till truly see Ivan? And then the staff didn't allow them to continue asking the question. There's another one. In round 7, when Till saw Ivan on the screen, what did he think? There's no answer to this question. And someone said, I remember from the cafe event last year, someone asks them how Till felt about the kiss, and they said, and they just stared at each other and moved on to the next question. We see that comic where it goes back into Till's past. It's not from his point of view. In regards to Till's point of view, so we don't get his point of view much, but we do get it in round 2, a little bit in round 6, and in round 7. What's interesting to me is in round 2, the whole song is about Till. It's his point of view. We don't see Ivan at all through it. Like, never. The only time we see Ivan in it is at the end after Till passes out. The part of the stage where Ivan was mentioned in the song, but it just showed Mizi, it didn't show Ivan. And then cut to round 6, where the first verse is Till, and presumably we get his point of view again. No Ivan. Even though it's Ivan and Till's, like, song, Till's point of view shows no Ivan. The first part of Ivan we see in the MV of Cure is when it shows how Ivan Till met, basically. And that is after Till's verse finishes and right before Ivan's verse starts. We don't see Till's point of view very often, and the only thing we've seen Till's opinion on is, like, Mizi, because all of his verses have been about Mizi so far. We haven't seen his point of view about Ivan at all, and the closest we get is in round 7 when you see Till hallucinating about Ivan. And that's not like, it's negative because it's hallucinating, but the way he views Ivan is pretty positive. He doesn't remember the choking part of round 6. He only remembers, like, the kiss, and then Ivan holds up his head and looks at him. Or, well, fake Ivan or Luka. Ivan has a very bad view of himself. I don't think he thinks that anyone could care for him. We're seeing Ivan Till through his lens. Like, all we've seen is through his lens. We haven't seen it through Till's. So the fact that we see it as unrequited is possibly because Ivan himself thinks that it could never be requited. We have an unreliable narrator, and we're seeing everything through his point of view. And then the creators have done such a good job at not showing Till's point of view about Ivan at all. So I think we're in for a big surprise when we finally see Till's point of view, and I'm so excited for it. I think the reason Ivan Till is so misunderstood is because the environment they're in, and people just don't have media literacy nowadays, okay? But their relationship is so constructed by the environment that if you take out the environment that they're in, it doesn't have the same dynamic, basically. I mean, the same thing could be said about Mizi Sua, but their dynamic, it looks on the surface so wholesome and nice that people don't question it in the same way they question Ivan Till, because their dynamic is more constant misunderstandings. You see, the Alien Stage characters don't really understand what love is. They were never really taught the concept. You'll see this again when I talk about Luka. The way they grow up caused them to view affection differently, and those two views contradict each other a lot. Till was shown love by his mom. He didn't know the words for it per se, but he understood the gestures, like when his mom held him, when they smiled at one another, when they spent time together. He understood affection and warmth and had that through childhood growing up. So he knew love to a degree. Ivan, on the other hand, grew up as an orphan. He was never shown love. He was never shown how to love. So his love for Till is shown by him acting up and trying to get Till's attention in really childish ways, because he never learned how to show affection the normal way, the healthy way. I can make a whole video on Ivan and his view of love and how his upbringing shaped his view of love, along with his view of self-worth, which is very distorted. He doesn't really believe anyone could love him or like him or want to be in his company. let alone Till, the person that he's the most interested in. But yeah, he wanted Till's attention so much that he did anything, including pissing Till off, to get his attention. They were friends, though. It's shown in comics, it's shown in art that they were close. It's even shown in one comic that someone gives Till a present that they want to give Ivan. So in a sense, it's known that it's known by like the other children that Till and Ivan are close enough that you'd go to Till to talk to Ivan. You know what I mean? But yeah, they both saw the friendship differently. Ivan felt as though he didn't deserve love and couldn't fathom the idea of Till caring for him. So he didn't really view them as anything, even though he had so many feelings. While Till, we don't have a lot of his opinion, but from what there is, he viewed Ivan as an important person, as someone as close as family. So it just completely contradicts. And in everything, we see Till and Ivan were close. Ivan was sitting there while Till was drawing. Ivan would always come up and talk to Till. They fought, but they were close. They just didn't understand each other. Ivan found Till interesting and hard to figure out, so he'd pick at Till to get his attention, and Till would get annoyed by it, unable to understand Ivan's motives. They seemingly both rejected each other's gestures of friendship, and I don't think they even ever truly understood one another. But in a different environment, think off the record, their relationship could be healthy if they had a different upbringing. In round 3, we get Black Sorrow, a song that's obviously about Till from Ivan's point of view. It shows he already knew him and Till's story was going to end poorly. Quote unquote, at the end of the story, there's only a cold spot stained with blood and empty air. In round 3, there's also the meteor shower scene, where Ivan tries to sneak out of the captivity with Till, but Till turns around and doesn't want to go with it, presumably because of Mizi, but also I feel like it could have been just fear of the unknown. Because Till was abused so much in captivity, I think a part of him probably feared, like, what if they got caught? What will happen on the outside world? Not saying that it wasn't very much because of Mizi, because Till is a very emotional character, and I feel like he's the type who wouldn't want to leave any friends behind. He's like the main character, where they want to protect everyone, even though he wasn't that close to many people. Before we talk about round 6, we're going to talk about Till and Mizi, because that's a huge part of Till's character. Till is shown to have a crush on Mizi. He blushes when she's around and stutters when talking to her. The thing is, Till's crush on Mizi was more idealistic than actual love and care. I mean, they were friends, so they have that love and care. But I feel like, well, first off, they don't even know what romance is. So Till having a crush on Mizi, I think it was more idolization than actual, like, a crush. Till grew up with awful owners and was abused constantly, as I mentioned with the meteor scene. But he saw Mizi's innocence and brightness and used that as a way to cope with the circumstances, similarly to Sua, except Till was too afraid to actually befriend Mizi. He wasn't protecting her, he was using her positivity as a crutch to help him deal with his environment. Mizi was a presence he wanted in his life, not because it was Mizi specifically, but because he saw Mizi and Sua's relationship and he wanted something like that. The thing is, he never really got close to Mizi, as I said, so his relationship to her is more like one to an idol or a celebrity. Till loved the idea of Mizi. Ivan wasn't like Mizi, though. Ivan knew of the horrors of the outside world, or the horrors of the world in general. Ivan was well aware of his mortality in the same way Sua was, so unlike how Till could use Mizi's presence as a way to cope, he couldn't really do that with Ivan because Ivan didn't have that same brightness as Mizi had, that same innocence that she had. I think Till still wanted to be close to Ivan. You see, Till wanted someone to be close to, and if you look at all the character charts, Ivan is the one that he's closest to. Now let's talk about round 6. I think Ivan didn't know he was going to sacrifice himself for Till in the way that Sua knew for Mizi. He criticized Sua on sacrificing herself for Mizi, as I mentioned before. I don't think he thought he would do that until he was in the moment, or until pretty close before the competition, but I may be wrong on that. Ivan thought their situations were different. Him and Sua's situations were different. Since Ivan didn't believe Till cared for him in the same way Mizi cared for Sua, so he thought that losing him wouldn't really affect Till, because he, again, couldn't fathom Till actually caring for him, or Till feeling anything for him besides irritation. Slightly off topic note, but it'll come around. You'll understand why I'm saying this. No one in Alien Stage knows what kissing is. So when Ivan and Till kiss, it's confusing. Ivan brings it up to Till, saying that everyone's doing it and that he wants to try it, but Till says no, which makes sense, because if you look at kissing from just an action, if you don't look at the history behind it or anything like that, it's literally just putting your face against someone else's face, and I think that's just Till's reaction to that. He's like, oh, why would I do that? He doesn't say, he wouldn't do that with Ivan specifically. He says, gross, why would we do something like that? So it's possible that Ivan kissed Till in round 6 because he wanted Till to be more irritated with him. He wanted to gross him out so he didn't feel sad that Ivan was dying. The thing is, though, Till does care for Ivan. Whether you want to see it as platonic romantic, even if you want to be insane and see it as brotherly, they care for one another. You can see it in the look when Ivan's dying in front of Till. You can see it in the comics. They have a close relationship. As much as there's a whole 2 videos basically about Ivan and Till, I think most of the showing that they're actually close and it's not just one-sided is in the comics and in stuff that may be behind a paywall that I'm not going to be mentioning. Anyways, we get to Ivan's death, and I think Till finally at that moment saw Ivan's true intentions, because Ivan made a face exactly like his mother, and I feel like he understood that there was affection in Ivan's relationship with him, because he finally saw it in a way that he understood. Then in round 7, just like Mizi with Sua, we see Till getting flashbacks of Ivan. So Till was affected by his death. Shocker. I'm honestly just excited to see more about Ivan Till. I'm excited to see more about every character in this series, but I'm most interested in Till's point of view on things, because we've been hidden so much from it. In my opinion, Ivan Till's love is like a glass vase, a pretty glass vase on the end of a shelf that is teetering on the end and almost falling over. It's very fragile, volatile, I don't know if that's the right word, but beautiful nonetheless. And it probably would be more beautiful under different circumstances where that vase was not on the end of a shelf. Okay, we're going on to part 3. Hyuna and Luka. This relationship is the most toxic and controversial of the ones I'm talking about. I feel like we don't know as much about these two as we do about Ivan and Till or Mizi and Sua, but I'm gonna go off of what we do have. And a lot of that is not in videos. So, Luka and Hyuna's relationship is interesting because of the contradicting themes of their characters. Hyuna embodies freedom, having escaped from Alien Stage. Most of the songs from Alien Stage are about characters and their love for another person, whereas I believe Hyuna's song is more about self-love. Literally, the lyrics say, "We only get one life, so I'm living it for me." Hyuna is mature. She's learned about herself and learned to accept herself because of her freedom. Because of her experiences not being in Alien Stage and not being constantly constricted, she's learned more about herself and accepted more about herself. Quote unquote, let me talk about the character of Hyuna. She shows the maturity I imagine. I think maturity is not about forcibly suppressing a part of yourself, but natural growth. Even if you are getting older, you can still keep your childish side. It shows what society lacks, how to adapt to society, and how to deal with differences of others. This is Hyuna's maturity, while Luka and Ivan's emotions are not mature yet, so they will restrict others. Luka completely juxtaposes this by embodying restriction, representing the oppression of Alien Stage. He's the winner of at least 2 seasons of Alien Stage now, and one of which earned him the title of the greatest performer on Alien Stage. According to the wiki, he's also earned the highest score in an Alien Stage round in round 4 that we don't see. He's the oldest contestant we know of, and he's constantly shown to be trained as a showman. He's charismatic, he's charming, He is the face of the competition, and I think Luka, out of all the characters, is the most constricted. He literally says in multiple occasions that he was taught to keep his heart rate under control. As I said, he's like the face, the mascot of the show. He even says he thinks that Alien Stage is a chance to repay the aliens for their support and love he's received. He's probably the only character that I've seen openly view the Alien Stage competition as anything but bad. Except the aliens, I don't think they see it as bad. But out of the pets, he's the only one who hasn't seen it with disdain. Luka says, "We pet humans would not be standing in the spotlight if it weren't for Alien Stage, and I wish to repay the love I received through my performance on stage." I think Luka doesn't really know who he is outside of Alien Stage since he's so intertwined with the show. Beyond that princely exterior, though, he's manipulative and willing to play with people's emotions. He does this in both Round 5 and Round 7 to Mizi and Till, where he uses Till's grief and Mizi's grief against them. In a way, this shows Luka's impure view on love and affection. Similarly to Ivan, he didn't really learn what affection was. He was just controlled, and the closest to affection that he saw was Hyuna and Hyun and their relationship with him. Luka grew up in a stricter environment where, quote-unquote, every breath you take, every facial expression, every angle of your mouth is controlled, which really affected how Luka viewed affection. I think because of his upbringing, he saw affection as control and objectification. Hyuna and Luka met and grew up together in the 49th class of Anact Garden. Based on some of the art, it seems as like Luka was kind of an outcast, probably because of some of his weird behaviors. Like, he's literally sucking on Hyuna's forehead in one photo. But Luka and Hyuna met when Hyuna's brother, helped Luka find his way after he got lost in the garden. She befriended him and accepted him. She didn't like him for a superficial reason or anything. She didn't expect anything of him like other people expect things from him, and she actually accepted the weird sides of him, and Luka seemed to get extremely attached to her because of this affection she showed. And I mentioned before, Luka views affection as control and objectification, so his feelings towards Hyuna started to become something of control, or wanting to control her and objectifying her rather than seeing her as an actual person. And all in, we see Hyuna distressed thinking of her past with Luka and her brother. It shows there was an incident between them that caused her brother's death. It isn't really specified what happened, but it tarnished whatever relationship Luka and her had. I think when it comes to her, Luka reminds her of her guilt and trauma not being able to protect her brother. She's seen as a protector to Luka as a kid, to Mizi with the rebellion, and the one person she couldn't protect was her brother. So I feel like seeing Luka reminds her of that failure. And maybe, just maybe, this is my interpretation, but maybe Luka reminds her of confinement, reminds her of being controlled, and that scares her, because her character is so, it's about freedom. She has found out about herself because of her freedom. Her character embodies freedom, so I think Luka's character, who is completely controlled, restricted, literally down to his breathing, I think scares her to think about. Because she doesn't want to go back to that. She doesn't want to be in that place. Luka still thought about her when they separated, though. I think, as a complete opposite to Hyuna's feelings towards Luka, Luka feels that she introduced him to freedom to a small degree. And he can't stop thinking about her because of that. Not only that, the affection he feels that makes him want to control her and objectify her, but I feel like there is a little bit of Hyuna wants to stay away from Luka because he reminds her of constriction, whereas Luka wants to be around her more because she reminds him of freedom, or gives him this taste of freedom that he doesn't have. Just their reaction to each other in round 7 shows that there's a lot of emotions that they have for one another, undiscussed, unaddressed emotions. So Luka wants her to be close to him, to control her and keep her as his, and she wants to keep him away because he reminds her of her past and just her trauma. They're almost completely opposites. I think everything about them is opposite. Their MBTI is one letter off of being completely opposite too. Luka says in regards to Hyuna, "It's pitiful. I'm just avoiding the situation right now. If you were in my arms, your safety would have been guaranteed." It also says, quote-unquote, Luka's love is uneasy. Even though Luka has never felt insecure in his life, he instinctively knows that his love is insecure. If you're born and raised in a restrictive environment where every breath you take, every facial expression, every angle of your mouth is controlled, you don't even have a chance to think about healthy love. But love is still love, and it's not like he didn't try. However, we don't know if his efforts are really making the other person happy. Luka thought the whole time he was away from Hyuna about what he should have done and how on earth he could be more connected to his loved ones than blood. But as smart as Luka was, he couldn't figure it out without reading tons of books and studying hard. In comparison to Mizi and Sua and Ivan and Till, who Mizi and Sua are like so together and so like there's a divide because they don't tell each other the truth of things, but they look healthy and they do have a genuine bond with one another. It shows like a different level of misunderstanding with each of these couples. Mizi Sua being like understanding one another on the surface, but then having a lot of unsaid things. Ivan Till is like constant misunderstandings, but still staying with each other despite that. And then Hyuna and Luka is literally being complete opposites and completely like, you know, when a magnet, like you connect or try to connect the wrong sides of a magnet and it like pushes away. That's what they feel like to me. They are the two opposites when it comes to this huge concept in the show, freedom and confinement. They are the extremes of both of those topics. And I feel like I'm just so interested to see where they go. I mean, Till's point of view is my like number one thing I want to see. But I'm also really curious about these two and how their characters are going to grow and develop. I don't know how to end this. I don't have a fancy ending for this. I wrote all this in like a couple days. I went deep diving into every single character, and I'm proud of what I ended up with. I also had so much fun finding out more about the characters that I love so much. Like, I before had a surface level understanding of each character, except Ivan and Till, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about them. But most characters I had almost like a surface level knowledge about, and then diving more into it, the themes are so interesting. And I think the creators have created these very complex characters, and then after you see a complex character, on top of that, they also have these intricate relationships with other people in the show. And I just think it's written so beautifully, and the music is all amazing. And I think this is one of my favorite casts of any media because they're all just so unique and they all have different experiences, and the experiences, you can see how they shape the character. It's so well done. And if for some reason you've watched all this and don't know anything about Alien Stage, go watch it. Support the Patreon. They deserve the world for this. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And if you want to hear more of me ranting on Alien Stage, go to my Twitter. I will not call it X. Go to my Twitter. A link in the bio. Also, I have posted social media AUs and one fanfiction of Ivan and Till, so go check those out. I'll put them in the description below. I'm really excited to post this video. Like, I am, you know what I mean? The autism is taking over. I hope you like this video. For now, I'm gonna go read some fanfiction, and I will see you next time. If you watched all the way here, you are amazing. I love you. Also, if you watched all this way, you should totally comment, like, subscribe. Okay. Let me know if you liked this or not. Bye.